It's the holiday season, and hopefully some of you have a little bit more time on your hands. So I thought this was a pretty apt moment to raise the subject of photographing your garden. Now, before you click go to next video, I've sold a few $1,000s of fine art work that I've just shot in my garden. Now that I've got your attention. So the first time I ever picked up my camera and took pictures of a tree was down on a friend's farm. It was late autumn, fall. There were these wonderfully yellow poplar leaves that were coming off of the tree. And it was this enchanted old farmhouse that had laid in ruins for many years and had been discarded, but there was a little river running by it and these trees were still beautifully healthy, and I think that yellow poplar tree really got me into photographing trees. 8 or 9 years later, I have got a whole library full of beautiful fine artwork that I've either shot in my own garden or on walks around my neighborhood. One of my favorites, I've got a Chinese maple tree in my garden, and I love documenting this tree over the seasons. That tree in particular, I will always shoot with my trusty 85mm, and most of the time I'll be shooting at 1.2 or 1.4, and what that does is it gives me a wonderfully distorted perspective of these leaves. So I have this beautiful foreground that creates patterning through the lens, and I have this midground that's a little bit sharp, and I have the background that's either a sky or if I'm shooting it on a cloudy day, it'll just be a white canvas. Some of my favorites are the autumn shots, where autumn, fall, call it different things in different parts of the world, but those are some of my favorite, with these blood red leaves against this beautiful white canvas. I think the rules for this one is have a fast lens. I would guess that sort of 2.8 is getting you into the club if you've got anything less than 2.8, and there's some wonderful little 50mm lenses that go down to 1.4 or 1.8 that aren't expensive, so don't make it an excuse saying that you haven't got it. If you are interested in this type of photography, do yourself a favor, go and get a hold of a really shallow depth of field fast lens and give this one a try. Okay, so with that same lens configuration, I'll also wander around the neighborhood and take some pictures of trees. Now, most of the time what I do in this situation, because of my minimum focal distance on this 85mm being in the region, I've forgotten, it's 10 years old nearly, this lens, I've forgotten what it is, but it's around just over a meter, between 3 and 4 foot. I know I'm not going to focus anything closer, that's why I have my macro lens for other shots. But anyway, when I'm using this, most of the time there'll be foreground. That's just going to be playing gently with patterns and effects on the rest of my image. I'll often have my hand and I'll control some branches and bring it into the right area. I'll often also play with the sun, shooting directly, not for very long times. You don't want to hurt your sensor. If you know there's going to be a really great shot out of it, then I'll go there for a second or two. Yeah, anything, it makes a wonderful canvas, as you've seen from some of the shots up on the screen. And remember this equivalent, if you've got a crop sensor body, go and buy one of those cheaper lenses, the 50s, in the region of a 1.4, 1.8, whatever they come in your brand of camera. It's going to be richly rewarding. Then the more traditional work is obviously with a macro lens. I've never really been into typical macro photography that you will see a lot of all over the internet. It's just not my cup of tea. It doesn't seem like it qualifies for me as something that could be construed as fine art, or that could hopefully get to something as fine art. A lot of macro photography for me is a technical exercise, which is fine, that's fantastic. It's a wonderful challenge if that's what you're into. For me, it's not what I'm into, so my macro will be for almost documenting flowers, and there have been some wonderful photographers over the years. Mapplethorpe comes to mind with his flowers. I think Man Ray was also into flowers. A lot of the greats, I've even seen some of Newton's flowers. It is really a thing of beauty. I've recently gone and had my portfolio printed, and in amongst all of my high fashion work, every now and again there's just a breath. This one in particular that's on screen now, it was a little past its sell-by date, and I found such beauty in that. I like to try and mirror life, and I don't think that because you've got a wrinkle in your face now, you should be discarded or you've lost your beauty. I think that type of character brings out the most wonderful beauty. None of the petals had fallen off yet, but the edges had started degrading. I think those imperfections is a Japanese design that dictates that there's no beauty without a little bit of imperfection, and I think that's wonderful. So some of my other favorite subjects are the succulents. Their pattern, their leaves, wow, makes beautiful work. But I think the short of it all is have a look and see your garden sometimes in black and white. A lot of my work is in black and white. Even though I'm using color, I'm using a monotone palette, like those red leaves against the white sky. For me, I think bringing it down, reducing it to a more monotone palette is what works for me in taking these ordinary, everyday trees and plants and flowers and going through the process of transforming them into fine art works. It brings a new appreciation to your garden and to your photography also. I'm a high fashion photographer. I love going into my garden, taking a break and getting some beautiful pieces of fine art work. So it's not just for the people that you think are old and boring, it's for all of us to go and explore and enjoy. Until next time, I hope this has given you some inspiration over the holiday period where you've got a lot of time to get out there and have a look at the wide open spaces and be safe. Spend a lot of time with your family. Happy holidays.